So I'm going to go out on a limb here. Zillow. That's all the internet really needs to start getting me in trouble because I listed a corporate name on the It's a Real Estate Thing show. But how accurate is the Zestimate? We need to talk about this. We need to get in front of it. This is probably one of the most diverse and most used tools on the internet. Let's face it, your clients now more than ever, anything they are shopping for, from toothpaste to Teslas, they are getting on the internet and they are doing all the research long before they decide to talk to you. You know what Zillow does really well? They drive the customer base to those of you that are willing to pay for their services. They are a huge advertising and marketing generation machine. Clients go on their site, look for properties in a certain area, get driven to certain agents, and if you're paying for that zip code, they bring it back to you. Fantastic. But how accurate is it? What are the clients using when they're doing the research? We're going to debunk a lot of that stuff today. And working in real estate means you have had your fair share of Zestimate conversations. But the most common question is, how accurate and can we trust the Zestimate? Whether you're a fan or not, the Zestimate is a huge part of what we do in real estate today. We've all had that call from that exciting homeowner, had to dive right into details with a buyer who wants to undervalue a property, even from the Zestimate price. Rather than fight against it, we're going to learn how to use it as a tool. For all of my super fans out there, join as we demystify the accuracy of the Zestimate. We're going to share some strategies that we're going to be able to chat with your clients about. We're going to be able to walk you through this. We're going to start making it a more comfortable conversation. Hey, they're going to get on the internet anyway. There's no stopping them. So let's learn how to use that conversation to our advantage. There's some key takeaways that you need to think about for today's session. Zillow uses Zillow-owned and manufactured technology to estimate a home's market value. The nationwide median for error rate for a property that's on the market already is about 3%. The ones that aren't on the market vary anywhere from 8% all the way to 15%, depending on the type of neighborhood that it's in. The on-market data is based on listing price, descriptions, comparable homes in the area, and days on the market. But the off-market pricing, not so much. It can only use tax records. It can only use public information that it can scrape from other places. And you know where it's getting the other information from? Realtors. And we know how much you guys love putting in all the right information inside the MLS. So what's the Zestimate really got on its plate? We're also going to talk about the tax assessments, prior sales, and some of that other publicly available records to determine that off-market data in today's session too. So what is the Zestimate? How does Zillow even get this information? The Zestimate is a home valuation, and it's based on a sophisticated proprietary algorithm that considers a whole lot of factors and data points. It's delivered in real time. It's for both on and off market properties. However, it is super important for us to note and for you to understand that Zestimate is not the same thing as an appraisal, and it is not the same value as a CMA. Those are conducted by an actual person, an actual real estate agent, or an actual licensed professional appraiser, considering all data points: the condition of the property, upgrades, the actual community, the things that are planned for the community moving forward, and whether or not the property that's sitting there is being used at its highest and best use case. These are always going to be the more accurate valuations, and that's the reason banks only use these things to move forward on properties. According to Zillow, there is a method to their madness. Regarding the Zestimate itself, it includes a nationwide median error rate. It's expected. It's in their fine print. It's not something that they're ever going to be able to change, because the Zillow or the Zillow agent is never going to walk into the house and accurately estimate the condition of a home. Ever. The cool part about that is that when you're talking about the inaccuracy of this estimate, it's going to bring you right back to the reason that we all work together today, to make you better professionals and to give our clients better education, to where the internet's great, but it's not always based on 100% fact that you need to run on. Thank goodness we learned this about the internet a long time ago when MedMD and things like that started to get very big. Otherwise, we would all be in hospitals checking ourselves in every single day, thinking that we had much worse scenarios we had from a simple cold symptom. When we talk about inaccuracy and what we're doing, this is something we learned about in real estate school. So for us, if we're not careful and we as real estate agents don't do a great job of a CMA, imagine what a 10% range of error can get for you. On a $500,000 property, which is just about where the Florida average is for the state to buy a home, that is a $50,000 swing. And I don't know about you agents, but I am foaming at the mouth right now thinking, man, if they're that far off and my client's already agreeable and we are $50,000 off the mark, them paying my commission should not be any conversation whatsoever. You were willing to listen to Zillow before I got here. Now, as a trained professional, it's time for us to move forward. We're going to get you the real money that your home is worth, and you're not going to have any problem paying my agreed commissions rate against that type of error. Look, the numbers that are shown on the Zestimate are generally very good, but for them to be off by that percentage, you simply have to know that when we do CMAs based on a range, Zillow doesn't take any of that type into consideration. So if you think roughly 80% of the properties that are on the market on Zillow right now are off by a good range of 7 to 15%, imagine how much money that your clients are leaving on the table. So let's talk about the variations that you've got to consider. Number one, on market. On market property is going to be the most accurate for Zillow. Again, guess why, realtors? Because it's pulling the most latest, greatest information that you, the realtor, put on the MLS. That's also, by the way, the problem with them pulling the data from you, the realtor. If you didn't do a good job and you didn't fill out all of those things on the MLS, how accurate do you think this estimate can possibly be? Which is not going to be in your favor either, because when you put down all of that stuff in the MLS, Zillow pulls it over from their IDX feed and they decide to re-estimate the house with the Zestimate formula, and you're that far off from where their home is listed. Client's going to come up with some questions, and every buyer that comes into the house is going to say, you're overvaluing the property. Look, this is what Zestimate says your home is worth. Off market is even worse. Zestimate only has accuracies dependent on tax assessment, prior sales, and other publicly available records. So none of that is even up to date. There have been additions to homes, pools added, waterfront verbiage that's been added to the MLS database in the last 10 years, the things that are not set up correctly in the geographical market. State by state, the data will move by accuracy. But in a state like Florida, where we have so much water-based property and even beachfront property here, it's really difficult for a piece of software to properly estimate. Florida sits on a nice lime rock base that floats around pretty much all the way, and we sit on this beautiful peninsula out in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico, just on the seat of the Atlantic Ocean. Our land and waterways change constantly. On top of that, there are this big thing in Florida and growing quickly in the United States called planned communities. These tend to have more accurate estimates, by the way, because planned urban developments actually have a expectation of completion, style of homes. They know how many houses are going to sell within a certain amount of period. Developers have got it down to a science. It's a lot simpler for a program like Zillow to say, this is the same house that was built in that community X amount of years ago. That same model now should be worth Y. Basic math, that's how they're going to run a calculation for you. Again, they haven't been in it. They haven't seen the upgrades. They haven't seen the quality of the build. They haven't seen if the client added anything to the build in the final measurements, or based on the other properties that are for sale in this new development, how is that property stacked? A property's Zestimate is calculated by that very complex software. It's an automated valuation tool. You see it on the internet everywhere, called AVM. Any company that uses its own algorithm to obtain a number of what they think a home's value should be uses an AVM model. These analyze their own data points. They are not necessarily in real estate, nor have they necessarily ever been in real estate. These are programmers, these are developers. The data makes sense to them. The numbers are accurate enough considering the amount of houses that they're going through, but it can never accommodate for all of the changes that happen inside a home once it's owned.